Hey everybody, have you considered starting a podcast? We here at Screwball highly recommend Podbean for getting your podcast out to a larger audience. Podbean has given us the opportunity to easily bring you Screwball each and every week on all of your favorite podcast services. Use the link podbean.com/screwball to sign up and save up to 35% annually. You can also use the link podbean.com/pro/screwball to sign up for a business subscription. Happy podcasting. Hey everybody, welcome back to Screwball, a baseball podcast, your home for everything baseball. I'm your host, Mike Lepre, here with my co-host, Frank White.
Hey, how's it going?
This is episode 108 of Screwball. Another week of baseball has passed, and we are moving right along into the season. We are now at mid-May. As for the podcast, we have another few pieces of news here. A little bit more than we had last week, where it was a little bit more topic-driven. And some very interesting happenings in baseball, specifically how we usually start the podcast with the news. The number one piece of news I have, probably one of the stranger things that you would have seen over the weekend, is that just the Reds are a mess. And on Sunday, the Reds threw a combined no-hitter against the Pirates, but ended up losing the game. The game ended up 1-0 after the Pirates earned 3 walks to load the bases, and I believe Brian Hayes came up and beat a throw to first on a ground ball that got bobbled by the defender. This was also an 8-inning no-hitter because I believe the Pirates were at home, so
I don't know if it's actually technically a no-hitter.
So this was an 8-inning no-hitter by the Reds, and therefore is not actually counted as official no-hitter because it's 8 innings. So the official stat book, I read it in the...
So it's not no-hitter number 383 or whatever.
Nope, it's not considered a no-hitter for the year. So there's still only just the 2. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so
Incredible.
there's very, very special achievement. So this is the first time since 2008.
Yes. You know who pitched that one?
No. Who was that?
Jared Weaver.
Oh.
It was Jared Weaver and whoever combined with him to throw the no-hitter against the
I think
Dodgers.
I remember that.
The Dodgers won that game. And the Angels, Jared Weaver threw the no-hitter.
I think I do remember that because Jared Weaver, especially that
I
era,
believe that's
was
the
pretty
no-hitter.
good.
That counted as a no-hitter. I believe it was at Angels, so they were the home team.
Oh, okay.
They did pitch to 9 innings, I believe.
And this is also the 6th. They are the sixth team overall to lose on a no-hitter. So
Andy Hawkins, I think, was the first one, right? With the Yankees in 91?
That I'm not sure about, but that sounds about right.
I think it was like Andy Hawkins in 91. With the Yankees, he lost no-hitter.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, I mean...
I know
unless
it was one of the earliest ones.
Unless there was one in, 1922 where...
Well, of course there was, yeah.
Blackjack Magoo lost his no-hitter or something. I don't know. But, yeah, so that's the first piece of news. Like I said, if you were kind of paying attention over the weekend, the Reds just continue to boggle the mind. And but nonetheless, a very impressive outing by Hunter Green, who's one of their top prospects. So
and he's been struggling because the ERA was up over 6.
Yeah, so regardless, that had to have been encouraging at least to see that out of your, one of the guys that you're really kind of hanging your hat on if you're a Reds fan. So yeah, they ended up losing 1-0. So good on the Pirates, I guess, to at least could break through for something, even if it wasn't a hit.
Yeah, 2 teams that aren't that good, but hey, the Pirates are fighting through everything.
They're trying.
At least the Reds won 4 out of 5 there for a little while. I was like, at least they got wins. They were on pace to win 22 games, if that, for a while there. I was like, all right.
Yeah, it's something,
Yeah.
The next piece of news I have here, which you'll obviously go into more in the injury section, but Bryce Harper has a small UCL tear in his elbow, but he will continue to DH for the Phillies. So, according to the Phillies, that he will not commence throwing for 4 weeks, so he won't be throwing a baseball. He won't be really using that throwing arm for anything, and will only be DHing, and he'll start a throwing program after that to kind of see where he's at. So that's kind of precarious position for Harper with a small tear there. And this will now force the Phillies to play Schwarber and Castellanos in the outfield, which they already have defensive problems, and then you take Harper out, so now say you have to stick Schwarber out there all the time instead of DHing him. It could be a cause for concern. But I would say, even though it's a concerning, UCL tear is, no matter which player it is troubling. But good on, I guess, Harper and the Phillies to just say, hey, we'll play you. You can play, if you feel all right to swing, we'll just DH you, and you can still play. And yeah, he's probably the biggest part of that team right now, I would say, arguably. I know some other guys have been hitting good. I think Boehm and Castellanos have been hitting pretty good, but Harper's been kind of the cornerstone. So losing him out of the lineup would be big. And then finally, the third piece of news, which kind of goes into our topic and some other pieces. Really, it's a topic that we talk about, a lot this year. But the Royals entered Monday with the 27th ranked offense and decided to fire their hitting coach, Terry Bradshaw. As we keep saying, like I said, every week the offense across the league has been down, and the Royals really wasted no time in firing their hitting coach and kind of starting anew for the rest of the season. You don't usually see the firings happening, this early on unless something's really, really wrong. And
especially with a team that's not really
right. They're
in the midst of like a hunt or the playoffs, and if it's a team that's like, oh, we're supposed to be hitting good, and it's like, let's go, Mets last year with Chili Davis. Makes a little bit more sense. Still, it's kind of reaching, but when you're kind of a rebuilding team, it's like, what are you really trying to accomplish, right?
Exactly. So it was a strange move to me. I mean, to do it the way they did it, and I know the offense has been down, but you're not really a team that's like win now, like where we could be fighting for a wild card spot, unless you really see yourself that way. Which I hate to break it to you, but there's a lot of other good teams, at least just
you
in
could
that.
sneak in there, but are you really expected to do that? Probably not.
Right. So I mean, that kind of goes into, like we've been saying, a lot of people around baseball have been saying the offense is just not there as it was in previous years, and you could attribute that to a lot of things, and that's kind of what we'll get into with one thing that you could attribute it to, or there are a lot of people that have been kind of talking about this topic, but I'll kind of let you kind of introduce our topic. I know you got some other pieces of news too, so I'll let you kind of get into what you brought for the week.
Yes. Before we get into the topic here, a couple pieces of news I have is, Reed Detmeyer's doing no hitter for the Angels, an actual no hitter, the first one of the year. That's actual one guy. That was pretty much right at the start of last week, so we kind of just missed it talking about it. Pujols pitched yesterday. That was pretty cool. It's legend of the game. I guess he got his chance on the mound, gave up a couple runs. Johnny Cueto's getting called up by the White Sox to pitch today, which is also pretty cool. A guy who has had a great career and, maybe a new identity for the Hall of Fame pitcher. He could be maybe on that board.
Right.
Because obviously the milestones are way different than they're going to be previous for Hall of Fame.
That's very true.
We've seen Rendon hit a home run lefty. Like it or not, I'm not a big fan of that, to be honest. But, that was pretty cool. He hit a home run. That's not a huge fan of the flipping sides and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We've seen it with Baez, and we talked about that last year, 2 years ago when he did that. Wasn't a huge fan then, and not a fan now. So that's not going to change my mind too much. But the topic, which we already kind of talked about a little bit here, is offense being down, but more importantly, the dead ball. Baseball, and the thought around baseball is the ball's different. It's dead. 2018, 2019, 2020, the idea was the ball was juiced. The ball was made to fly more. The ball was made to pick up offense, make sure offense was awake and not dying back in a dead ball era, and keep fans interested. This year, the thought is the ball's back to normal and the ball's not flying, and these guys have built their offense and their swings on home runs and launch angles, and if you get this launch angle at this velocity, it's a home run. And we have seen the certain launch angles and the certain velocities where it's a home run 99% of the time become not home runs, and only home runs 30% of the time. So now you built your whole offense, your whole identity as a player for this one thing to happen, and it's not happening. Right. So is baseball in a problem with the dead ball? And the reason we bring it up because offense is down. But for me personally, I think baseball should just use a regular baseball, not a live one, not a juiced one. Just use a regular baseball like they've always have, for all we know at least. They've always used a regular baseball, especially if you're changing the rules of the game to enhance offense. Why would you take a shift away next year? Make the bases bigger, whatever that's going to help. Do these things to increase offense, and then put a juice ball in while you're slowly hurting the pitcher by wanting to move the pitching mound back, lower the pitching mound, and take the sticky stuff away from a pitcher.
Right.
So what's the point of being a pitcher? Might as well have a pitching machine up there.
True.
Right? So I think if you're going to do those things, which they're going to do with the shift and things like that, then the ball needs to just be a normal baseball. Learn how to hit with it. If you're not Aaron Judge or Stanton and you're not smashing the ball 120 miles per hour, you can crush the ball 500 feet, and you're little, little guy, Nicky Madrigal.
Yeah, right.
Stop trying to hit home runs then. Right? It's a simple concept. I'm not a home run hitter. I'm not going to hit home runs. Right? We've seen Jeff McNeil go back to his normal hitting, right? Batting over 300. That's because he's a base hit guy. He's not a home run hitter. The juice balls made him think he's a home run hitter. He's not a home run hitter. Hit the ball. Right? So that's kind of where we're at. Learn how to hit, which is going to be great for the game. gonna lower strikeouts, put the ball in play more. Enough of the launch angle for some of these guys, right? That's the biggest thing. So deadening the ball or making it a normal ball, not deadening it, just making it a normal ball, should actually help the game.
Right.
And really should, it might be a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even next year could see some of the issues. But eventually these players are going to be like, okay, so I can't just mash them home runs all the time. I have to learn how to hit. I have to be a LeMahieu type of player, David Fletcher type of player, those guys who just poke the ball out there, old school Tony Gwynn kind of player, Rod Carew, those guys who just poke the ball, hit the ball, and sure, when they square one up and they try pulling the ball harder, they can hit a home run, but that's not what they're trying to do all the time.
Mm-hmm.
The shift coming away should open up holes, averages should go up. Why raise the ball? If you're going to juice the ball and you're going to, increase the offense, then the pitcher has to have some sort of increase.
Mm-hmm.
They should either raise the mound back up, which is never going to happen, or give them the sticky stuff, whatever they want to use on the mound. Otherwise, the pitcher has no chance.
Oh, yeah.
If it was a slick ball and these guys are juiced, it's like having a, high school pitcher against steroid up Mark McGwire.
Yeah, right.
It's not quite that dramatic, but it's that concept.
Right.
Like, this guy has all the chances to be great, and I have nothing. I have a cardboard box as a glove, and this guy's, his equipment's $1,000 a piece.
Yeah, right.
I don't really have much of a shot.
Yeah, you can't. It's hard to compare.
You only can go so far with what you got, right? So,
True.
That's my take on that with the dead ball they call it, but really it's just a normal baseball.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that we should just get back to here's a ball, here's a normal baseball, and hit it and be a hitter. LeMahieu's not a 30, 40 home run guy. He's a hitter.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to try hitting home runs. I don't need my second baseman who's 4 foot tall trying to hit home runs. Right? I don't need my catcher trying to hit home runs all the time. I don't need these guys just trying to hit home runs. You have a role on the team. You're a speed guy. Hit for an average, use your speed. Like Billy Hamilton. Hit for average, use your speed. I don't need Billy Hamilton trying to hit 30 home runs because the ball's flying more.
Right.
Not everybody's a 30 home run guy.
It's true. Yeah, I think that I don't mind the juice ball, especially for the MLB, what they're trying to do. They like the offense, so it makes sense for them. They don't say either way really whatever happened or what's going on, which I think hurts them more than helps them. And, it's like you said, if you're going to juice the ball, just give the pitchers back a little bit of something to help them grip the ball and get a little more. Yeah.
Hey, we're using these baseballs. They're, you don't have to say that I would never say the word juice as baseball because that's just not, because then juice now steroids, we're going into the whole thing.
Yeah.
We're using these baseballs that are could be beneficial to hitters, whatever. However you want to word it to sound it so it's not saying juiced.
Yeah, right.
But announce it. Say this is the ball we're using. The ball's changed. It's this. But you got to give the defense and the pitchers a way to stand up there and not just get shelled.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
No one's going to want to stand up there if you're Justin Verlander and those guys who are used to 2-3 year rates and then stand up there and you're going to have a 4 year rate and be leading the league.
Yeah, right.
No one's signing up for that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because then you have players like, look at the 1 year with the Twins when they broke the record for most home runs in a year. They had guys like Max Kepler hitting like 30 home runs. It's like,
And sure, he could be a 30 home run guy.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe he has a hot year and he is. But I don't need every guy on my team smashing home runs. I don't need my guy who's probably a 10 to 15 home run guy. All of a sudden he's a 30 to 35 home run guy just because you switched the ball. And now he's going to switch his whole swing to that.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you change it back, which they did, or use a real ball, offense is dead because I got a guy who doesn't have a power hit the ball 420 feet, swinging to hit the ball 420 feet.
Right.
And all of a sudden changes the game.
Exactly. So I do like the concept of, hitters actually hitting, like for average and getting on base and stealing. And yeah, that's the game. I know that people do like the long ball and just trying to get as many guys in your lineup to hit the long ball so you can get more runs and the analytics and this and that. But I like the old school ball and you can see that baseball's trying to do that with their concept of it, making the bases bigger is because they want more stolen bases. It's like they're you can see where their head's at, whether they're right or wrong on that, you could debate. Yeah. But I at least admire the concept of like, hey, let's get the top 2 guys in the lineup hit like 300, and maybe your 8 and 9 hitter have a little bit higher average, and your meat of your lineup has the home runs, as opposed to 1 through 9 all 30 home runs.
Yeah, reduce the shifting, so there's more holes, so you can just put the ball in play more. That's the idea. So I don't, and again, I don't say if you juice the ball. I just don't like that idea. And I'm not saying this is a dead ball they're using. Just use a normal baseball. What is the problem with that? Mm-hmm. So when does it end? Use a juice ball. Now I'm using a juice bat. Now the players are using steroids. And now all of a sudden everyone's juiced up out of nowhere. You might as well put an aluminum bat out there, and all of a sudden now you're mashing the ball 700 feet.
Oh my gosh.
What's the point of that? Hey, you're hurting people.
Right.
Just normal baseball.
And people that are familiar with, especially if they played Little League and actually did play ball when they were younger, they understand the concept, because some people like to jump the gun. It is mid-May now, and there's still some, up where we are, we've had days in the past weeks where it's, it's still cold out. So if you know baseball, the ball just flies better in the warmer weather. You know what I mean? So I think some people are a little bit jumping the gun on the lack of home runs and stuff that, a ball that's hit in April as opposed to hit in June or July, when it's a little warmer, that might carry a little further, and all of a sudden it's a home run. So that just happens. That's just how baseball is, so.
We see, and we also remember one of our hitter-friendly parks here in Camden Yards has moved its fences to prevent offense. Pitchers are getting better. That's just how it is. Also, I don't know if everyone knows that every stadium is using a humidifier, I should say, which affects the ball.
Right.
Every stadium, only 6 used it before this year, and there was only like 3 the years before.
Right.
Now every stadium has one, which is going to change the way the ball is.
Very true.
Could that be a big factor? Probably. Shortened spring training, the weather being colder, right? Guys aren't really used. These bullpen pitchers, you have more guys pitching than ever before.
And they throw crazy stuff.
Yeah, but you're never facing the same guy.
Mm-hmm.
All this every year contributes. So all of a sudden now it adds on.
Right.
And I think the humidifier, or humidor, however you want to go about it, has affected the balls. It has changed it, no matter what you want to say.
And that was and I believe they might do it a little different, but wasn't that a concept introduced by Colorado? Because for the
Colorado, Arizona, because of the dry weather,
right?
They were some of the first ones to do it, and then it spread. And then baseball's like every stadium needs to do it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's also a big change. So again, I just think they need to go with let's be hitters, let's hit the ball, let's be hitters, and that's more excitement too. Yeah, home runs, but I'm not we're not saying let's take the ball and deaden it. That's not what they did.
No.
Here's a regular baseball, and here's that one with gold on it that you see at the home run derby with the last out. When it used to be the last out, you had the gold one. Remember the special ball? That was a money ball. Why are we using that?
Right. Yeah. Why are we just using the money ball?
Yeah. So just use a real baseball. So I think that's where we're at. I think baseball. Because then you know what? The last little thing on that too, I want to bring up. I mean, you mentioned before when we were talking before we started recording. You start getting into all these conspiracies with it. LA's are just using the money ball in LA. The live juice ball, and they're using the juice ball in New York because those teams are hitting and they're playing well and they're the big market. Or they're going to use the juice balls after all the sports end. Basketball's playoffs are on. Hockey's almost over, right? Football's gone. Everything's gone. You're going to have just baseball in the summer. All of a sudden, then the juice balls come out. Everyone starts hitting home runs. Schools are over. Kids are wanting to come to the game. People are hitting home runs. All of a sudden, it attracts all the fans in, right?
Right.
We're going to start having all these controversies and all these, conspiracies and this ball's not a dead ball. Then the next ball you throw out's a juice ball, and now it changes. All because you don't say nothing. You won't say and announce nothing, and you won't just be like, no, this is what's going on, and deal with it.
Right.
Just like they did with the pitchers last year. No sticky stuff. Deal with it.
Yeah, it's just...
Hey, if that's what you want, that's great. That's your approach, great. But let's hear it. Do it.
Yeah.
Pitchers were like, I don't want to do that. Too bad. I could go back. Go away.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, they're... All right. Let's go.
Yeah, it is what it is,
So just, if we're going to do that, let's do it.
Yeah.
I don't want this conspiracy. Maybe we're doing this, but no, why?
Yeah.
Just shut it down. We see it at the trade deadline. Are you trading this guy? No, that's done. Shut down.
Yeah.
We're trading this guy, maybe. That's when the rumors, or you don't say. Then all of a sudden the rumors start flying. If you're like, no, then it shuts down relatively quickly.
Right.
So
and the MLB has been bad at that with communicating. Like, hey, here's what's going on.
Yeah. So I don't know exactly, but I think they just need to stick to their guns, whatever they are, and let's go. Use a regular baseball. Learn how to hit.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. But like I said, if they bring the juice balls back, bring back or at least kind of like how they have a rosin bag. Just say, hey, here's the allowable. Kind of like how batters, there's an allowable pine tar amount on a bat. Just say, here's what you can use. Here's what's available to every pitcher that comes out.
Yeah, don't just hurt the offense or the pitching and defense, and then increase the offense.
Right.
Because then no one's going to want to be a pitcher.
And you're going to just alienate. If you just had a bad CBA talks, you're going to alienate the Players Association more because all the pitchers are going to be like, what the hell is this? So there's a lot of different fixes to it, but I would rather the MLB just come out and say, here's what we're doing and here's what happened, because we still don't have a straight story on what was going on those years.
No,
with
or
the
how
juice
the ball
balls.
was different.
Yeah, like
or
what
if
did they
it actually
do?
was different, or if it was just, they just used a different material, this and that.
Yeah,
Who knows? Who knows? Just
it's all theories. Yeah,
But you just don't want to get the conspiracies and the rumors flying when you can just shut it down, play ball. Here's a baseball. It's the same as any other baseball you're ever going to play with, and hit the damn thing. Learn how to hit. You're 4 foot tall. You're not a power hitter. Chris Taylor was a guy we see with the juice balls. All of a sudden, he was a 30 home run guy. He was a 200 hitter with 5 home runs, and all of a sudden, he went to a 30 home run guy.
Right.
Now, could he change his swing? Sure. Is it some of the juice balls? Yeah. Everybody's million home runs.
it's just how it is. It's just, and that's playing your role on a team.
Yeah.
You know, it's
I'm a
just
second baseman. I hit for a decent average. I play good defense. I run the bases. I'm the 3 hitter. I'm mashing home runs. That's what I do. I have the power to hit all these home runs. That's what I'm going to do.
Right.
There's those roles in the game. I don't need everyone hitting home runs, because in the game gets just too the same. There's no difference. There's no disparity. You know, there's nothing. It's just the same crap over and over again. No one wants to watch that.
Yeah.
If I wanted to watch the same 5-2 game, I'd go watch the same 5-2 baseball game with 3 home runs. I don't want to see that all the time.
Yeah, and I don't know who you're really attracting in either. I mean, we've run over this concept a lot, but like, you know, are these really bringing in the fringe or
home runs are up, which means offense is up. But yeah, but it's because offense is up in spurts. It's a lot of striking out, a lot of pitches, a lot of nothing, and then all of a sudden you see that 1 home run.
Yeah.
What's exciting about that? Oh, those 30 seconds of watching the ball go out and the cheering of the home run, and then it's back to striking out to the next 15 batters, and you see another home run.
Right.
We're not going to have 5 base hits, a stolen base, you know, ball in play, plays are being made, this guy's jump plays, this guy's diving. It's excitement.
Yeah.
Right?
It's just
the triple, one of the most exciting plays. The relay throws, right? The relay throws back to the plate to get somebody out or at a base. So it's probably the most exciting play. Triple, right? Having basey rounds, it's getting louder and louder in the stadium. The stolen base, the hit and runs, when a perfect hit and runs hit right behind where the guy moved. I mean, you can't get no better. Throw from the outfield, the guy throws him right on the money and gets him out. Puig and Cespedes throws over the years. It's exciting. Hit the ball and watch it go over the fence. I can go, I go watch slow pitch softball. I want to go do that.
yeah, for real. Yeah. I mean, and so many guys do it anymore. It just kind of sometimes it loses its luster.
Yeah.
So I mean, again, we've gone over this concept a lot, and you know that we can kind of run over it as many times as possible. But you know, at the end of the day, the MLB's just got to do something, you know, or come out and say something, and we'll kind of go from there. At least know what we're dealing with, that kind of thing. So that's kind of what we're thinking with at least the baseballs right now, and just again, kind of what we're thinking with offense, because it's kind of been an ongoing topic. But
I think it has been growing though. Offense has been steadily coming back up. Weather's been warm.
Yeah.
People getting back in the swing of things. I think it has been coming back up, so it's not too much to worry. And I don't know, stolen bases. I think stolen bases and home runs were closer this year. I think we're seeing a little bit more baseball again, which is exciting.
Yeah. That's I'm more than fine with that. You know, a nice balance of everything.
Exactly.
You know. So the last thing we have here before we get into who's hot and who's not is the wrap-up, which is who's doing the best right now. So the Yankees have the best record in the league right now at 25-9, while the Astros have the second best record in the American League at 23-2, which is good for a .657 winning percentage. The Mets have the best record in the National League at 23-13, while the Dodgers have the second best record at 21-12. The Dodgers, as always, have the best run differential at +70, while the Reds, as always now, have the worst run differential at -65.
Incredible.
So although I do believe that's better from what we talked about last week. I think it's like, I don't know, 10 runs better or something like that. So
Yippee.
it's something.
Yeah.
Give them something, you know, some consolation.
Sure, they couldn't even get a no-hitter, right?
They
Couldn't even get it handed to them. They couldn't even get it, like MLB's like, yeah, it's a no-hitter. You
Yeah,
lost, here's a no-hitter. It's like, nope, it's a special achievement. or
Yeah,
whatever you
that's,
wanna
yeah,
consider it.
right.
No-hitter, I guess you can call it, right?
No-hitter. Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
so- Yeah, some teams I mentioned are doing, hot and cold teams. Yankees, Astros, Angels, Cardinals, Pirates. Pirates, not really, really hot, but for a team that has some of the worst talent you're going to see coming into the season, to be only a couple games under 500, you got to applaud that. In a pretty hard division, I mean, other than the Reds, but relatively it's a competitive division. Top 2 teams are really good, and a couple teams, Cubs are all right.
Yeah.
But still, you got to applaud them for what they're doing right
Right.
now. Some cold teams, Toronto, struggling. Their offense has been way down. I believe for a while they had the worst batting average with runners in scoring position. I would imagine that hasn't really changed much.
Right.
Red Sox, one of the worst teams in all baseball, paying
bad.
second most money paid salary over the last 5 years, and they have one of the worst records in all baseball. So that doesn't get talked about enough, I don't think. The Red Sox being where they're at with the money they paid. Because I know last year with the issues with the Yankees and even the Mets, we've seen over the years, that gets talked about. One loss, it's talked about. And then the Red Sox are like, oh, they're paying the most money.
Yeah.
It seems the Dodgers would struggle. It would get talked about. The Angels have struggled over the years. That gets talked about. But the Red Sox somehow fly under the radar when they're playing bad and they're paying all this money.
Yeah, that argument kind of goes on deaf ears with the Red Sox. Yeah, I hear you.
It's like, oh, well, next year they'll be really good, or they won the World Series. No, I don't know. That's not how it works. So, something to take note of. The Marlins have been struggling here. Nationals all year. Don't worry about that. They've been pretty much down to the bottom. And the Rockies, after their relatively hot, lengthened stretch, they've been cooled off here.
Yeah, some teams there make sense. Red Sox, at least in my opinion, came into the year not very, the pitching something had to give with the pitching, and here we are where their pitching's not very good. Rockies, were playing above their head.
About Alex Cora being, 30 win difference the year before?
Oh, I know,
yeah. That's not the difference.
Yeah.
Manager win you a couple of games is difference, but that's not the difference here. They don't have pitching.
No.
You lose your ace. Matt Barnes has been pathetic since last year, right? Since middle of last year, which happens, right? The other bullpen guys have not been good. You just don't have pitching. And then your offense, other than three guys, has been pathetic.
Yeah.
I mean, pathetic. I don't think this guy batting 200. I think you have Martinez, J.D. Martinez, Bogarts, Devers batting over 300. And I don't think you have another guy batting over 200.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, right? So, yeah, like I said, some of those teams make sense, and I know that it's a little bit of an unpopular opinion I think we both agreed for some years now that the Red Sox are mediocre at best, and here they are.
I know, and I'm not trying to rag on the Red Sox, and not just because obviously we're more Yankee fans here, but it's the same as last week with the Little League Stadium nonsense, right? If we're gonna do that for somebody, we do it for everybody.
Yeah,
we just can't pick one team, because Red Sox is for a while now kind of get swept under when something goes wrong. But with the LA teams and New York teams, it's always brought up.
Right.
What is going on? What is going on? Even Philly, what is going on? They don't do this. They don't do that. Pay the money and they don't win. And then the Red Sox are like, oh, they're okay. They're just the lovable
America's
losers
team.
over there, or whatever you want to call them. It's just like, well, they're paying a lot of money to not be good. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, it's a bit concerning if you're a fan. Not for nothing,
Yeah, and their offense is down at an offensive stadium.
Right.
It's like, what is going on?
Yeah, so. It makes you scratch your head. Especially if you're a fan. You're like, hey, aren't we supposed to be good? What's going on?
Yeah, exactly.
So, but yeah, let's move on to our who's hot and who's not section of the show. We talk about our hot hitters and our cold hitters, and Frank brings the pitchers. So my 5 hot hitters for the week I have are Bryce Harper at number 1. As I said before, he's hurt, but he's been hitting the hell out of the ball. He batted .579 over the last week with a 1368 slugging and a 1977 OPS.
And a tear in his elbow.
Yeah, all that while that's going on. Number 2, Miguel Cabrera, batted .500 over the last week with an 864 slugging and a 1364 OPS. A little bit, I would say, not a resurgence, but what you could call a resurgence in it. Not that he's ever been really a bad hitter, but he's kind of been like laying low last year while the Tigers have been bad. So, but he's been hitting good this year, Miggy. And then number 3, we have Giancarlo Stanton, 500 average over the last week with an 1150 slugging and a 1695 OPS. He's having a great year thus far. Number 4, Jonathan Daza, batted .500 over the last week with a 722 slugging and a 1246 OPS. And finally, Yuli Gurriel, the ageless wonder at this point, batted .476 over the last week with an 857 slugging and a 1379 OPS. And I do believe Harper did win Player of the Week. I don't know if Miggy won Player of the Week for the AL, but I know, like I said, I usually like to mention the Players of the Week. I know Harper won in the NL, so that's all I can speak to.
And just to mention already, you mentioned Stanton, RBI double today.
Yeah, so
and you mentioned Miguel Cabrera is 1 for 2 with an RBI in the Detroit game.
These guys are just killing it.
So that's just live action as we go here. Some other hitters I have to mention here: Brandon Nimmo, playing good for the Mets. Willie Castro for Detroit as well. Trey Turner has been high here. It's kind of been a relatively slow start for him this year. RBIs have been up for him. Average has been down. Stolen bases have been down. Home runs have been down a bit, but he's starting to come around. 270s, 280s at this point. Josh Bell all year, red hot, batting like 350. He had a hit today. I mean, he said he stopped trying to hit home runs, and now he's batting .350. Crazy concept, I know. Trey Mancini, red hot of late. and Rhys Hoskins getting back on the hot train there. And you got him and Harper going. I know, Castellanos was good for a while there. Alec Bowen even, so it was like maybe they get going.
Yeah.
Some of their pitching come together. The bullpen's been atrocious. They blew another game yesterday. They blew 7-1 leads at some point this year. And they were early on. It's like, what is going on? Just finish a game here and there and finish two of the 3 of those games. And it's 2 more wins, and that's a big difference.
Yeah, really. Figure it out somehow.
Yeah. So, some pitchers that are really pitching well here of late. Justin Verlander. Resurgence or comeback. I think he's comeback player of the year. I think it's pretty much almost handed to him at this point, right?
Yeah.
The way he's pitching. Screwball for Detroit. They got to get going overall.
Yeah.
They've got to get going. And having Cabrera on the hot list, Willie Castro, Screwball on the pitching side, maybe just breathe some life in him. They had a lot of injuries, but they got to get going here. Martin Perez pitching well. Reed Detmeyers, of course, he did a no-hitter. And David Bednar for Pittsburgh, the closer out there, been pitching really, really good this year. And if Pittsburgh wants to get rid of him, they can get a nice little price for him.
Oh yeah,
and flip him to a contender.
Yeah, if he keeps it going to the All-Star break and to the trade deadline,
he's got an intensity to him. You just gotta hope he's one of those guys that doesn't just fizzle out after a year or two.
Right.
That's kind of relievers and closers, but he's got that intensity to him. He looks the part as a closer or late inning guy. He could definitely jump on a Phillies or someone who really needs bullpen, and just really give them the step up they need.
Yeah, and that's all the better for the Pirates, who are really trying to build a competitive team, and they're still in the building process.
Hold them around and think they're going to be good here in the next 2 years. And
maybe.
And he's a piece in the bullpen.
You never know.
But that's great getting a guy who you don't really expect, maybe, or at least us. I don't really know who he was coming into the year, and all of a sudden now he's reliever of the year.
I know. Yeah, we were critical because we didn't know anyone in the Pirates bullpen just about.
Quintana. He was the ace. We laughed about that.
Yeah.
I think everybody did. He was the ace. He's got 2 ERA this year. Just shut the Dodgers out last week. I mean, the guy's going nuts. I mean,
it's unbelievable.
That's great because you could flip him if you're Pittsburgh. He's You flip him, you get a piece back for something way more than you expected.
Yeah, and he's a name, so people will be like, "Oh, Quintana's pitching good. Oh, maybe he's
been around. He knows how the league works. He knows these teams. He knows these players. That's great. And that's great for whatever Pittsburgh's doing and their coaching and their organization. You see that after some of them awful trades, the worst trade I've ever seen with the Austin Meadows and the Glass now. To start seeing some of these moves, you go, man, we're okay with the division kind of not being there, with the Cubs going the wrong way, the Reds the worst of ways.
Mm-hmm.
The Cardinals and Brewers are hanging. They're good teams. Cardinals actually starting to get some age in some certain spots. So the division's not really a runaway.
No,
Pittsburgh's not far from being in the hunt.
No, figure it out. At that point.
Those are great moves. I just want to bring that up.
Yeah.
Because again, we talked about the Pirates now a couple times. It's you got to give them, when things start turning, you got to give them their benefit of the doubt and their dues.
Yeah, they're staying somewhat competitive. They're not being walking mats, So.
Yeah, you got to brings fans in, especially a scrappy team.
Mm-hmm.
You guys want to go watch that. You're a Reds fan and you're 4-24 at one point. You're like, all right, I'm not going this year.
Yeah, I'm not going to see that dumpster fire.
I'll go just see the stadium and go hang out, but not worth it.
Right.
We're around 500. Hey, you know what? I'll go to a game, right? Give my guys some credit. Maybe watch something, right?
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, exactly. So moving on to the cold list we have this week. I have at number 1, I have Robbie Grossman, batted .045 over the last week with an .045 slugging and a .237 OPS. At number 2, I have Sean Murphy, batted .091 over the last week with a 136 slugging and a 386 OPS. At number 3, I have Nicky Lopez, batted .087 over the last week with an .087 slugging and a 174 OPS. Number 4, Jose Abreu, batting .050 over the last week with an .050 slugging and a 145 OPS. That's my fantasy team, of course.
Nice.
Number 5, Marcus Semien has been really not good with that contract over with the Rangers. Yeah. He batted .050 over the last week with a 100 slugging and a 150 OPS. So the Rangers are expecting a little bit more so far out of that big contract, but maybe a little too soon to hit the panic button because it's only been a month and a half.
Well, he had a series at the Little League field. He should have been able to raise his average and stuff.
Right? Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, that Little League field, yeah.
That didn't work out too well for him.
That's who I got for the cold hitters, though.
Yeah, some guys I want to mention. Kyle Schwarber has been pretty much cold all year. I mean, he's hitting the home runs, but he's batting like about 190 for the year. Javier Baez has been cold here. Kike Hernandez has been not good for Boston at all. Brian Hayes struggled here over the last week, even though he's been having a great year. And Lindor, after his hot start, has cooled off significantly. I think he's only in the 230s at this point, after he was batting up in over 330s for a couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Another fantasy player of Mike's there, so I'm sure he's well aware.
Yep.
Some pitchers that are struggling. Corey Kluber's getting just smacked around this year.
Yeah.
which is kind of surprising. He's not a bad pitcher still, and then the Rays get these guys and they make them heroes, right?
And he pitched pretty good last year, other than his injury. He was pretty valuable, I'd say.
Yeah. Cy Young contender got beat up yesterday. Carlos Rodon.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was the early favorite for this NL Cy Young.
Mm-hmm.
Coming out and going to yesterday, gave like 8 runs yesterday to the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Mark Melancon getting beat up for Arizona. Robbie Ray, last year's AL Cy Young, struggling with Seattle this year. And Dylan Cease, he got beat up by the Yankees, gave up quite a bit of runs. Did strike a lot of guys out, just gave up a lot of runs in the doing.
Right.
So there's some pictures of the last week or so that have been kind of on the cold train.
Yeah. There's some pitchers there, just some surprising names, especially, Rodon and Cease have been so good that it's kind of like, you get a clunker here and there.
And that's what
It
happens.
just kind of, you can't, unless you put together like an MVP year as a pitcher, you can't really. You just years like there's going to be starts where you're not gripping the ball right, or the hitters
Especially
are
when
all
you're
figuring
facing
you
that
out.
lineup.
Oh,
Cease
yeah.
against the Yankees got beat up. Rodon against the Cardinals. It's
Tends to happen.
Not get beat up by the Reds or something where you go, oh, man, what really happened?
Yeah, something went
Or
really
maybe
wrong.
it played in Colorado. You want to use that as an excuse, whatever. But
Right.
that's that's how it goes. So
Right.
the next part here, we got the injury section. I think the injury news has been really, really quiet here the last couple of weeks. The good side has definitely been longer than the bad side, which is great. I only got a handful of names that are actually hurt here. Manuel Margot, who was really hot there, he got placed in the IL. Austin Meadows for Detroit, who was doing good here, placed in the IL. Victor Reyes for Detroit, placed in the IL. Acuna, he's day-to-day. The expectations, MRI, it was clean. He should be back in the lineup. Today's Monday. They're expecting Tuesday, if not Wednesday. So by the time this post, he should be been playing or in the lineup, which is good news. Jesus Luzardo left to start with forearm strain. He's been pitching really good for the Marlins. That is pretty scary.
Yeah, it's
forearm
not
as a
good.
pitcher is never good. McGill for the Mets, kind of rookie of the year contender. He's on the IL. He's been struggling after his last 2 starts or so. James McCann for the Mets, broken hamate bone. We know well about that. We see it all the time. 6 to 8 weeks, that is. And for a guy who might be power, if you want to consider more of a power hitter, hamate bone, wrist injury is never good for hitters, never good for power.
Nope.
And he's not lived up to that contract already for the Mets, so that's just not. Mets fans aren't happy there.
Right.
Bryce Harper we talked about, but he's going to play through it, and he's actually been playing really good, so hopefully he can continue.
Mm-hmm.
Willie Adames left the game yesterday with an ankle injury. The hope is he's not, he won't miss too much time. Nico Horner, he's missed the last couple games with an ankle injury. They just finally put him on the IL, so he'll miss a little more time, nothing too serious.
Mm-hmm.
And Kershaw, which I think we said before the season even started, we know he'll get his 2-month IL stint to rest his arm, some other nonsense injury they come up with, and make it sound like it's more severe instead of just being like, yeah, he's a little sore, let's just rest him, make sure he's around for the back half of the year in the playoffs.
Right.
And that's the thing what they're kind of doing here, but they said inflammation in his hip or his pelvis or something like that in his back. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but I'm sure it's going to be for good or the worse, whatever you want to say. I mean, for the smart thing to kind of rest him and get him ready for the back half of the year.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of what they did with him,
Right.
like it or not. So on the good side of things, Ryu and Danny Jensen for the Blue Jays activated off the IL. Those are 2 good pieces. We had Michael Wacha, who's been doing great for Boston. He is throwing and getting close to coming back here. Chris Sale was clear to throw today. Start throwing again. Start playing catch. Start doing a little bit more deeper throw. Hopefully getting to the mound soon, which is good, again, for Boston and for baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Casey Mize actually was on a rehab assignment after having his arm issues. They actually shut him down, not for a setback. He just says he doesn't feel like he can go out there and give it all he's got and like really unleash his arm. So it's not a setback. They just think maybe they ramped him up a little quick. Maybe he's starting to get a little bit dead arm. So they didn't call it a setback. They're just like they're like in a gray area right now with him. So that's
weird.
But they're not too worried about. So it's kind of weird.
Right.
Reyes for the Cardinals. He had a bit of a setback. He's getting another shoulder exam. They're hoping it's nothing too serious, but he's now dealing with shoulders issues for about 2 years or a year now, maybe 2 years. So that could slow his progress down. Maybe not see him come back this year.
Mm-hmm.
Flaherty for the Cardinals. He was another one dealing with shoulder issues. He's pitching. He's on the mound, doing bullpen sessions. The hope is he stretches himself out. We'll start seeing him in rehab here soon. I'm thinking it's mid-May. We'll probably see him sometime in early June to mid-June. We can see him on the mound for the Cardinals, which is a big piece for them.
Yeah.
Blake Snell expected to be starting for the Padres here pretty much any day now.
Okay.
And Chris Bryant's targeting this week to return from his back injury, which will help the Rockies get back into their winning ways.
Okay.
So again, those are the injury news, and again, for the most part, it's the good side was definitely longer than the bad side, and the bad side was relatively small injuries and just kind of happens.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I just hopefully worried about that. What was it, forearm strain for Jesus Luzardo?
Yeah.
That's always that's a rough one.
And Harper
you know.
with the UCL.
Yeah, those are rougher ones.
But Harper at least could play, hit. I guess if
Figure it
he
out.
really, really had to be in the field, he can go out there just kind of be easy on his arm.
Yeah.
Otherwise, a lot of this stuff was pretty minor. Austin Meadows was like an inner ear infection. Joel Whitted just kind of, he's like, what is going on? We just need a player, right?
Yeah, right.
Adames was more of a day-to-day thing. Acuna, great, hopefully, just day-to-day. Kershaw doesn't seem as serious as they're probably going to extend it to be just because he's older and just kind of just a safer play there. So there seems to be a lot of good news here on this injury side. And a lot of big names or big players for their teams kind of coming back here soon.
Yep. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff out of the injury front.
For a couple weeks now, at least 2 weeks, this week and last week.
Yeah, we'll definitely take it. And a lot of teams will take it. They keep off the injured list.
Well, they get used to the more weather warms up. It all goes hand in hand. You get playing mode, right? So
you get stretched out, and you're not quite in the dog days yet of summer. So it's good.
Yeah. So the last bit we have here is the trivia question. So Pujols yesterday, Sunday Night Baseball, he tied which player? He tied which player with being the oldest player to make their pitching debut in MLB history. Now, if you want to get down to days, I think the answer here is actually technically the oldest. You want to get to days, but tied, which is 42 years old. So Pujols tied which player with being the oldest to make their pitching debut in MLB history? 1929 White Sox, Lena Blackburn, player manager, pitched. He came in and pitched, I believe, got one out, and he pitched. That was the last day of the season. Pujols tied. He's technically the oldest pitcher. And you might think, oh, what about Ichiro?
That was my first
when he
thought.
pitched. He was actually 41, almost 42.
Yeah.
So he's
Just
the third, I guess, the oldest.
Yeah, because I don't know. I forget when it happened. It had to have been closer to the end of the year, if I remember correctly, with Ichiro.
Oh yeah.
And his birthday's in. I just looked it up because I was like, how is it not Ichiro? I remember him being old, and he was 41, and his birthday's in October. So he had to have been off by 50 some days, 100 days. I don't know, but he was 41, almost 42. So that's the first. I was like, it had to have been Ichiro, because he played for a while when he was he played into his 40s. So, but yeah, I never would have guessed that. So there's sometimes you ask me the trivia question, you're like, you're not gonna get it.
Yeah.
I'm
I
like,
thought that was great because Pujols made his pitching debut and he tied this guy or his second, whatever you want to get into the details of it. But you go, oh, maybe it's somebody, Lena Blackburn, this guy you don't know,
Oh yeah, like who the hell's that? Yeah.
But Pujols tied it, and that just tells you history of the game. Even though you think it might be the first, it might be the oldest, there's always somebody.
There's someone else. Yeah.
There's always somebody. A lot of times it ends up being Babe Ruth or something, but there's always somebody somewhere. There's something you're like, it just can't be the first one or the
Right.
oldest or the youngest. Like there's always somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You never seem to have the record.
And Pujols did get 3 outs, so how about that?
Yeah, he has a 36 ERA because he gave
Yeah.
4 runs and 3 outs.
What do you expect from a 42-year-old guy, a little heffalump out there anymore?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but great in St. Louis, right? Just
Yeah.
But it is what it is. Maybe they got to do something with position players hitting or pitching, and these guys flipping bats. Maybe they got to keep it competitive. So, not huge fans, especially the hitting side. The pitching side, I'm not too fan of. But if this is what you're gonna do, right? You give these guys. At least he deserved it. Ichiro deserved it, right? You go, okay, these guys kind of deserve what they're doing, So,
Yeah.
But yeah, so Pujols tied Lena Blackburn for the oldest player to make his pitching debut.
Cool. Good stuff. It was cool to see Pujols go out there. I was like, oh, man, they're really going to put Pujols. He must have been like, I'm pitching. He must have just pulled him aside and be like, I'm going out there. I don't care.
He's older than Oliver Marmol, the coach, and he's like, this is my team.
Yeah, I don't care what you say. I'm going out there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a cool moment. Even though he did obviously give up some runs, he's not a pitcher. So,
He's like
it's kinda
player
what you
coach over
expect.
there without being the official coach title, but he's definitely a player coach for a team like that.
Oh, yeah.
A legend like that. He talks, you listen. He'll
Yeah.
help you out. He's gonna coach without being he's gonna coach, but he's gonna get in the box himself too.
if I'm a Tyler O'Neill or a Dylan Carlson or a Tommy Edman or even pitchers, doesn't matter.
Or Renato. I don't care
yeah.
how good I think I am. You're not as good as that guy was.
Yeah, I mean, think about the 20 some year olds in the clubhouse who only been playing a few years. I'm listening to Bullhouse. I don't care what he's got to say.
Even the young coaches.
Yeah,
Schumacher's not really an old coach here. The manager, Marmel's not an old coach. He's been around baseball a long time, and in that city, he can help anybody out.
Yeah, 100%.
So his impact to the team is more than just his stats, and he's having a good year, batting about 250.
Yeah.
At least. He's having a good year there, but also his being there is just as important as him getting in the box every once in a while.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's still a valued part of the MLB, and he will be, he was going to retire. Yachty's going to retire. So get the information from him while you can if you're a young player,
Ambassadors
young coach.
of the game,
yeah.
and history and legends of the game we'll never see again.
100%. But that's kind of all I have for this episode. Good trivia question and some good news going around baseball. Nothing super, super eventful, but obviously that no-hitter thing is a bit of a unique one.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's kind of all I brought for the news and just my notes. Another week, another week of baseball and, more to come. So, good stuff there. And I don't know if you have anything else you want to bring up before we kind of get out of here or if you want to just wrap it up.
No, that's it. That's all I got.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. You can catch this podcast on Apple Podcasts as well as Google Podcasts and Spotify. You can listen on our regularly updated YouTube channel as well as our website, screwball.podbean.com. You can follow me on Twitter at @RealMikeLepre. You can follow me on Instagram at Mike Lepre.
And you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at FDubs10.
You can follow our official Screwball Twitter at ScrewballPod. You can follow our official Screwball Facebook at ScrewballPod. No E in Screw. And that's it from us, guys. We'll see you next week.
Yep, take care.